AM. Let's get right on it.
Exactly.
Is that okay? You guys?
Yeah.
I think so too. City business to take care
Tax,
of, right?
it's tax season. That's what he's really
All right, Tuesday, March 26th, 8 AM. It's my pleasure to call our commission meeting to order.
Do we have a quorum?
Yes. Karen's out there.
Karen is on. Okay, so we do have a quorum.
Yep.
Thank you all for coming at this bright early time today. First order of business, approval of the minutes.
Make the motion to approve. What's second?
All approved. Karen?
No. Dan. You're muted, Karen.
Approve.
Thank you. All right, motion approved. Visitors' comments. We have one visitor today.
Dave, do you have comments?
Locke.
Yeah, come on up.
Welcome.
Yeah, I do. Thank you. Brand, 3 minutes, is that right?
Yes, sir.
No, really quick, I just have a curious question. I think most of you probably read in the paper that the city has contracted with an outside firm come out to develop a new comprehensive plan for the growth and development of the city. That's in the article in the paper. I'm sure that one of the spots that we're looking at is the 15-acre site where Douglas Hill was going to go in. Douglas Hill was defeated in December of 2021 by a vote of 7-0 by city council. Not one person voted for it. The number one reason across the board why they said they voted against it was because of resident opposition. And this was despite the fact that there were business leaders in Old Webster, who I had on my radio show, who said they supported Douglas Hill because of the business impact it would have, positive impact it would have. At the time, the number one city council goal was to ensure financial security. And former city council member Bud Belamo, who's a business guy and a business professor, did a huge spreadsheet. And he did projections on paper that said that it was a tremendous financial benefit to the city and to the school district. But despite that, it was defeated. Then across the board, every city council member said, but we're open for business. We're open for new ideas, new creativity for this site. So 3 weeks later, I sent in 3 ideas. I'm a Lowell resident. I just sent in 3 ideas. I think they're pretty good. And then I sent them the second time because I heard nothing back from anybody, not even a thanks, and so my question is you don't have to answer it today, but just think about it from your standpoint, given that you're so close and that's really part of Old Webster. What would you all like to see in that spot? Because this firm they fired, I think, isn't going to develop or recommend any specific ideas. They'll probably just say this 15-acre site is right for development and growth. But what is the idea that's going to go in there? And I'm curious from your standpoint, because you live in this district every day, what would you like to see go in that spot? So it's something to think about. Okay, that's it. That's all I have.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Thank you
comments.
for being so involved in all Webster.
No, I think what you guys do is if I have a little more of my 30 minutes left, I think you guys do a terrific job. I love the Old Webster. In fact, I have a really good new idea for you guys that I'll bring to the next meeting. But the title is It's a Wonderful Life in Old Webster. And it's based on the movie. That's where this inspiration and the idea comes from. And I think it can be a really, really cool idea for you guys in December.
Yeah.
It's a Wonderful Life in Old Webster. That borrows from the movie.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, can I hang here and just listen?
Yeah.
Is it okay?
Yeah, you're welcome
Yeah.
to stay. You want to take my place?
We're doing budget. 2 meeting budget.
Oh, it is. I may take off.
Any comments for Dave?
Well, I just want to thank him for being so involved in our community in so many ways. He's involved in music, in these concerts and festivals that you host. You're involved in civic and society issues that we have. And you're also willing to share those ideas with all of us and spend a lot of time putting those ideas into place. Thank you for his involvement.
Well, no, you work well. It's like on Webster on Wheels, you have great partners and allies, and like, you know, Ron has been there from the very beginning of Webster on Wheels. You know, Gary on PeaceCon. I mean, you know, we have allies.
But it takes.
And so it takes a team.
It takes a
Takes
quarterback.
Exactly right.
You gotta have a quarterback before the team can win.
We have good teams.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Very
Thank
good.
you.
Yep, love having the voices in towns. Moving on to old business, our favorite budget. So to lead off, hopefully everybody received in the last week or so the revised, call it tentative revised budget up on the screen here, which reflects our discussions of the last meeting. And Eric,
Yes, sir.
if you can do me a favor and just highlight those changes that you made.
Certainly.
Based on our discussions. I mean, I think I can pick them out, but.
So I'll go down to expenses. I'll come back into revenue, but in expenses, we obviously have the professional services are the same, recycling services are the same. We changed, large change, the congregational lot changed to a 50% cost share with the city, proposing that for that lease, so that I cut the current lease amount down, again, still in negotiation. Reverend Danoon is on leave of absence, so we're on essentially a continuation there, waiting for his return to the church. They aren't going to authorize anything until he's back, so. So you're aware, the Mooley lot stays at 50%. Parking lot lighting stayed in. On advertising, we did move out the general advertising, the 700 page for your general Old Webster gang pages, we call them in the Times and such. But we did move out the holiday advertising that's inputted into the city. And so we're saying to the city, we believe, as we talked about the last meeting, you, the city, should take this cost, not have it borne by the districts. So that is recommended in this. And then we did pull out the advertising change on the parking lot, and we pulled out one other thing. Was it in
Is it the rooftop?
rooftop lighting and benches? Yes. And benches, yes. So there's no infrastructure. Again, that doesn't mean you can't do those things. You have a load of money in the fund balance, one-time cost, that if you come upon those projects, we can go back and ask the council to approve that funding. I can tell you now, the council will have no issue with approving that funding. They will amend your budget as you request. So it's really a matter of, from here, where do you want to have the budget set in? And then for your report, just you all think ahead that, Dave, you saw the May 2nd report that's due to the council, which is sort of your annual report and budget requests for that May 15th meeting.
And this shows a $15,000 shortfall.
So if you, I'll go down to the bottom here. So this says that we've expensed 41,000 and that your revenue with the back out of the transfer to the Parks and Recreation is going to show 15,000 shortfall. So
If you can run to the top
Yep.
for me. So we've got the real estate taxes, no surprise there, but then.
Can I
this is
just
like- Yeah, please.
point to a quick surprise. I'm gonna bounce a couple pages. So just real quick, here's your true value according to the assessor, what we charged for taxes, 47,000. In February, the protest report was issued and Old Webster was reduced by $11,000 of property taxes based on people protesting their tax assessments and such. So you went from about 47 in real estate taxes expected to that 38 mark. 38 represents the 36 you expect this year plus the delinquents. You always get a couple residual delinquents over the year, a couple thousand built in there. So that 38 number is a 1% increase over where we expect you to be this year. So, and I would expect that if they're winning those protests, they'll continue to win them in the coming year. I don't know who yet.
After the protest.
The 38 is after the protest. So it recognizes that these protests, if they're usually won unless there's a change in policy regarding assessments. Not to single anyone out, I don't know who they are. We see them often in the senior living facilities. Are they tax deduct or not? Other places like that. So could be any one of, we've asked for the property data. We do not have it from the county.
Would you say that's a 1% increase over last year?
Over last year and our expectations for this year.
Okay.
So
So even though it's pulled back, it's not really.
Yeah, exactly. It's not, the pullback we've already built in, and so we've 1% over what we expect to get with that reduction in the protest report.
And the business license, currently, we're budgeting 25.
We're budgeting 20, I put in 25. We have not finished our review. Following the conversation, we are again looking at all things as we've talked about. We have nothing internal to indicate that we have accounted in any way wrong for the business licenses. So it's a matter of we're trying to find, looking at the whole scope of the businesses in the district, what we should expect and such, and who, if anyone, is not paying in such a way to revitalize that number to where you believe it should be. And looking at it, it seems a right expectation that it should be higher. Just conservatively, I pulled it down. If you want to estimate it up, we can absolutely move that up. So.
Considering other potential sources of revenue, Fran did send out some information that indicating we cannot charge professional services, at least on the sales component, but are there other avenues that we could include non-retail operators? Say, for example, just a flat license fee, or maybe number of personnel or square footage. Are there avenues for that?
Yes, you can build a surcharge on the business license for the non-retails. That's a non-gross receipts function. If you choose, it's a matter of excuse me. And I swear, function is what I meant to say, what function or parameter. So if you want to be on a square footage basis, if you want to be on a parking basis, sort of like an impact fee, you can add it on. It's got to go through the whole process with council of an ordinance and such. It may, I believe likely, because it's an impact to the district in terms of revenue. If it was taxes, it definitely needs an election. Business licenses, it may need an election from the district, whether or not to accept that new cost and such. I don't know that answer for you in terms of a business license surcharge. That's all Hancock Amendment. Normally it would not if the Hancock Amendment didn't apply, but that applies in terms of a windfall. A large step in revenue of certain types need a permission of the district taxed. So
Even if it's a business license and not a tax.
that's the potential. So I mean, we often would say that it's not a tax, but folks in the state oftentimes will say business licenses are a tax. And that's been some of the argument that they made to exempt people from that business license in the past. So I don't know the answer. Neil should have it quickly if you want.
Is there, and this is a question for the other members of the committee, is there an interest in pursuing what that path would look like?
I think we should look at
Is
the
it even
path
possible?
and also look at what is there's the path to look at and the revenue that it could create. I think we should look at both before we pursue it, just to see what all it really entails, and then is it worth the dollar at the end of the day? Will it make a real financial impact?
So I think it will make a real financial impact. The
And then
majority of
it's like,
businesses-
how much would it be? What's that bottom line?
It's very close
dollar?
to 50% of the businesses here do not pay into the business license the way you do, for example.
Right.
And they benefit from the services and the improvements,
Beautification.
parking, employee parking, all of that is used by these other businesses. So I think we should look into the process. And if it doesn't involve too much, if it's doable without a public or public vote of the business district, then that's within our prerogative, I believe, to pursue that. And then we should look at what would make sense on a equity basis for everybody.
Yes.
Because there are 5 banks here, for example. Right, there's other architects and lawyers and professional people that would be probably, I think you gave an indication you paid for a couple of years because you thought you should. I mean, I think that people would expect that that's part of doing business here, is helping the area stay the way it is. So
I know Stacy has her hand up just briefly. I forgot to mention, Tim did reach out and ask for the number of decorative parking signs. That is not in the budget. So if you did want to do the printing of the 2-hour parking and add that, he has the number and such. If you want to highlight that, was not built in there.
Maybe we can consider that a capital.
We absolutely can.
Thing
Yes.
outside
Yeah.
the budget.
So I just wanted to highlight that. I know
No,
Stacy's
that's
got her hand up.
Stacy?
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing how other municipalities deal with first floor retail. So I think that in some towns, if you have a service in first floor retail, I think you need to pay a fee of some sort. I don't know, but I've heard that. So I don't know, Eric, if you're familiar with how other towns regulate first floor or ground level addresses and the services that go in them, because it's kind of like balancing out retail versus services. And
I
if it's
think it's done through an impact fee model, but I don't know off the top of my head, but it's not, wouldn't be hard to find. We can easily find some counterparts and get some.
And realistically, I would imagine, Eric, again, appreciate your feedback, but if we were to go down this path, I'm sure the timing wouldn't allow it to impact the current year budget, correct?
I theoretically could. So this budget is really gonna grab business licenses and what we would consider 25. So next April business licenses. So
But it's in 2 months.
No, April 25.
Oh, April 25.
yeah, this budget will start in July of this year and
Okay.
really go through next June. So you're gonna see this business, if you were able to, yeah, you would have time. It not necessarily would affect, you may not get it in time to adopt the budget, but theoretically you could actualize the revenue within the budget process, within the budget year.
So something else to look at,
Mhm.
just a clarification maybe, is that if this was a CID, is there a way to have a sales tax surcharge that's added to
Yes,
retail sales that is just a pass through to the district?
yeah. So
Is that CID? We can't do that without a CID.
So a CID is wholly different than this structure. A CID becomes a separate entity. So let's say you created across Old Webster as you have it right now, a CID. Let's say you are all the board, you would meet, you're the board, you're not even the city. It's a whole separate political subdivision. And you could say through the election and through the process with the city, we're gonna implement a sales tax. Let's say a quarter penny, on sales. All that would go to the CID. It would not come to the city, it would all go to the CID. And then it's just incumbent on the agreement between the city and the CID. What are you paying for? If this still exists, what are we, the city, paying for through the business district? And what is the CID paying for? If this doesn't exist, how are we running this district and such? So.
It's like another, like Grand Center has that built in, which was how they could increase revenue, if I'm not mistaken.
This is
I
exactly what the
have-
Grove went through. Oh, sorry.
I don't know if you all feel this way, but I already have customers that are like, I can't believe how high your sales tax is.
Yeah, sales tax is pretty high.
They do,
And
I don't
it
disagree.
could potentially really affect our customers choosing to shop in Webster versus online.
And
Well, online, they don't pay any sales tax, for sure. But if you go to U City, Richmond Heights, they're all higher.
If you go to any big box store,
Yeah,
Lowe's,
Yeah.
Home Depots, all of those, your sales tax, look at your sales tax rate on those. All
Well-
those big redevelopments are all paid for by your sales tax.
Right, exactly. So I don't disagree that I've gotten that comment a lot, Stacy, but it's in reality, it's not any higher than almost any other place. I mean, it's not the lowest, don't get me wrong, there are lower places, but there are plenty that are higher that people shop at regularly.
Mhm.
Oh, that's an advantage if you're lower.
Right. And then, again, we're not talking a percentage point. although it'd be
Quarter of a
great.
penny.
Yeah, we're talking a quarter and eighth of a penny, or something, something that the CID could regulate. And it would be citywide, and it could benefit the whole city, and all kinds of areas.
I
there's-
agree. I agree. There are other boards looking to do CIDs as well. So I just think we need to be aware that there's multiple boards discussing CIDs right now, and it's not
Based on the
just
current
that.
structure, based on the current structure, there's no way to continue doing what we're doing. And keeping Old Webster is beautiful without either,
But
you
you
can't raise
could,
any more money.
yeah, you could raise more money. You're just gonna need to you're gonna have to look at, you're limited to property taxes and really the surcharges or special assessments, okay, which is, if you think back, Dan certainly remembers when we buried the power lines, right? I mean, there was a special assessment created for all those owners to put the power lines underground. So that's a possibility. You can increase both of those things. It's just a matter of this process. You may have to go to election and then it's really what are we getting out of that? Is it just to pay for marketing, or is it usually people will vote for those things if there's what's the capital thing we're getting out of it, right? You know, I mean, we're gonna put power on the light pole so we can have, Christmas lights everywhere, and you know what I mean, whatever it may be, so.
I just look at the special assessment versus an increase in the sales tax because it's the people that are coming to the district
Sure.
that are getting the
Yep.
district, not just the district itself, which.
I would like to see what our options are to get money from service.
Yeah, I
People
think that's
raise
what the
it.
sales,
the easiest way.
increasing the sales tax doesn't do anything to help with it. Thanks, and architects and lawyers
No.
contributing as well.
Or looking into what we can do as far as charging a fee to be in first floor ground level retail spaces. Because they're essentially sitting in, square footage that could be retail sales tax.
Yeah, I mean, it would be resolved with a district-wide
Right.
service fee.
I would just point out quickly about services, there are multiple different statutes which pull services out of business licenses. There are some services I know, and I can just, pretty sure architects are one of them, that no matter what we do in terms of adding on to a surcharge, there are certain fields that are protected from even that, right?
Explicitly.
There are some that are not, that are just simply sort of exempted from paying this gross receipts side, but some are explicitly exempted. So it's not gonna be a catch-all, and I'll try to get the list all broken out, but it's about 5 different places in the statute you gotta go through and figure out who it applies to and such, so.
I didn't delve into what Fran sent out too deeply, except for what you sent, but it pretty much said that you couldn't charge any of those business or professional services any business license fee. I mean, it didn't, the what it kind of said, it's what it kind of said. I mean, I didn't go dive deep into the,
So that's the general concept. Some of the statutes are written very clearly about gross receipts, because that's the way almost every city in Missouri assesses a business license. But if you look at it as a different type of fee, a surcharge for parking, right? We're talking about surcharge. That's what you all have as a surcharge on the business licenses. If it is differently titled, it may be allowable under the statutes. But it depends on which field, because every field has sort of gone and gotten their carve out in a different way from the legislature.
Like you could set it up if you pay X amount of retail. If you pay X amount of a percentage of your sales for a license, then you are already somehow grandfathered, or I don't know, waived of the parking fee, waived of the first floor assessment fee, waived whatever it could be. Like you can add in those fee, like you're waived of this if you're, right?
Yeah, because you're paying it a
It'd be
different
separate
way.
to professional services.
Yeah.
You're
So
paying for
every
your
business is required to pay this, but if you are already paying X amount, you're waived of those fees. So that's how you kind of get around it, I guess.
You could set it up that way. You theoretically could, yes. So there's multiple ways to set it up. It all depends on that list of which we can pull for you. I'll have Neil put it together, and what do you ultimately charge everyone to try to gather that universe you're not getting now in the surcharge?
so it sounds like there's a bunch of different items. So first and foremost, there's 23,000, 4,000 we were expecting to have this year. We had all those years before that is now not in the business licenses for some reason. Who knows?
That's our number one. We need to find out what happened there.
Well,
It might answer a lot more of our issues if we find something substantial there.
I think the number, from my look at it, you really have about 15 there that I have to figure out where it's gone. 15,000. That's, I would say about 40 is the comfortable number that we can say is where things have normally been. Yeah.
When do we lose the grocery tax?
Grocery tax has not been passed yet, so. But if it does, that won't affect you at all, other than potentially if there's some reduction in shopping at Straub's that causes grocery receipts, but that theoretically should work that way. You don't
I
get any
thought that was
sales
going to
tax.
affect O&O as well, like any of the restaurants. I thought it was going to, no.
No, this would be unprepared foods at grocery
Okay.
stores, so, but that, you don't have a sales tax, so that would not affect you. Theoretically, like if Crossroads looking at a CID with Schnucks, if they have a sales tax, that would greatly affect them. It's about 12% of the city's budget is built on food sales, unprepared food sales.
And when is that up for vote, or when could we see that go through?
It's in this session, it's in next session, it's in many sessions, so it's on right now. I don't know that it's going to pass, given just the flummox of election stuff,
State level thing.
state level, yeah, to preempt from the base for unprepared or
Yeah,
prepared.
it's not gonna-
It's not gonna happen.
not gonna happen at state level.
Well, you'd be surprised.
I would, yeah.
Yeah, you've got about 12 different, and the problem is you have the minority party agreeing with it, so.
Deerbergs, they got deep pockets.
Mhm. There's a lot of money that's in that right now, that vote.
On Jeff City.
But there is, so it may not happen, but it's.
It's the consumer's paying it,
Right.
in reality.
So what I'd suggest on a
And Tim's got his
non-retail
hand up.
license, I'm sorry.
Tim's got his hand up.
Oh, Tim, comment?
My only comment is, this is a great conversation. And I think we should pursue it, but this is not helping us for the budget right now. And I know that this meeting usually takes a good amount of time to go through the regular budget. And we could talk about this next month, and continue on with this. It's just a suggestion there that we're spending a lot of time on future revenue. And right now, we probably should be talking about our budget right now.
Perfect comment, Tim. In fact, you beat me to the punch. I was gonna suggest we we table that from the standpoint of, right now, we have our revenue figures on the budget, we've got our expense line items. What I recommend is I will pursue, hopefully with the help of Eric, and if anyone else would be interested, what I'd like to do is we pursue this as a future option in the coming months, but at least for now, we focus on the current budget. So thank you for that, Tim. Given
Yep.
that, we're currently at a shortfall of about 15,000. We have reserves to cover it, though I'm not, rarely am I a fan of running a negative budget. Are there any other suggestions or potential areas to make reductions?
I don't, these are all highly valued propositions. I don't want to get in the middle of them in many ways, but you certainly, I hate to say it, recycling is a very important thing. I want to keep it there, but that is one cost. Does it benefit the entire district or just simply those who are using it? Something to look at. And then I would pivot. You've got many great different events, many of which support the Old Webster Trade Association. We can look at that. Or do you suggest to council potentially that Fran's cost be more borne by the city and not out of the district budgets? So those are, to me, your really big three, other than if you want to look at parking lot issues, we can certainly take that to council. I don't know what the reception will be to more costs moving to the city for dedicated district parking issues.
So the recycling services are only really used by businesses right near the recycling dumpster. Like,
And they're used.
and they're used.
I use it.
It's
I didn't
full.
know you did. Yes.
I mean, I can echo that. It's
Right.
2 blocks from me. I tell my
Right.
people about it. We don't
I
use it.
mean,
'cause
as the
it's-
park.
We
board-
use it, we pack our car up and drive it over.
We use it.
Not saying it's,
We
well,
use it.
I'm just putting all the
We
options
use
on the
it,
table.
but Park board doesn't because it's too far away.
Mhm.
Put some stuff in.
I mean, it's full every pickup day,
Mhm.
over full.
Yeah, I have to get there first thing.
You're
Monday
smart.
For Thursday. I don't want to put anything big in there.
Well, I want to throw out, if we think there's 15,000 that's possibly wrong with the business license number, that's our deficit. Do we have, when are we gonna know on that number, where that number might be, Eric? Because is that before you have to make your presentation to,
I've
The
got
council-
6 weeks, I think. so.
will we know something in the
Well,
next 6
I think,
weeks?
go ahead.
We don't we have to be finalized by this meeting.
So I need to put in the request, so I need to delineate what your request is. Obviously, we can continue to amend and change. It just goes through the manager and such. But I do think, because we'll have this year's collections in really in April is when the bulk of them all hit. I would expect by middle May into June, into the budget process, we would have a fuller picture of what are we collecting and where is any leakage really happening along the way.
And in the meantime, we funded out of our balance.
You take it out of the fund balance, yeah.
We would leave it there for now in case we don't find any
Under that
additional
balance.
business license.
Yep.
Because I think we've trimmed our budgets very far down. I mean, I like some of the changes we've made already, but I think going further, certainly we don't want to trim our promotional budget
Right.
because that's what keeps.
That's the only thing that's left is to pull things out of our events. which
Yeah.
Makes the people come here, and we don't want to do that.
And I think to Dan's point, if we expect that gap to close, we can budget a deficit. It's essentially expecting that
Mhm.
the revenue piece is off.
So I know you can't, forgive me. So some of those businesses that you contacted on their sales tax differential.
Yeah.
From what they're.
Yep.
Oh, we did $1,000 last year. Are those any big chunks?
No, in fact, they were both delinquent businesses in other districts. So
Okay, not even our
they weren't this year, they were delinquent from last year. And so we were going through the process I was telling him about, some auditor reviews of people sending in delinquent returns. So this year, the bills haven't gone out. The new process Blue Date, that's really launching this coming week now. You're all gonna get that, the new process, which should, I mean, certainly it'll make it easier and quicker to collect on for those that don't want to pay by check. There'll be, can be a credit card payment, so you're gonna get immediate, almost daily returns on that function. Check ones will still come in and such, but that, you know, that'll speed it up. We don't have any data. We have gotten a few payments in from new business starts that simply have gone through Mara's office under the old process.
Street dance, is it fully funded from here? There's no income from the vendors, correct?
Right.
Nominal income from our vendors.
No.
I don't think.
I don't
is
think
there
we
any?
paid, I don't think there's any for street dance.
Maybe not.
What if we get a little bit from the
From
the vendors? Yeah. I'm trying to funnel money into that.
Dave's falling on his sword.
Right.
Yes.
I'm trying to
On
find-
his sword.
trying to see if we can funnel some money in from, you know, the restaurants for events a little bit more. We can see what that looks like.
I'm-
You wanna talk
I'm
to
not-
street dance
I'm
people?
not opposed to it, but.
Right. I'm volunteering
is
to
one
give
person
you money.
here.
Okay, let's look at that for street dance.
Okay. Yeah, so
That
So do you
way-
want to change it in this budget or?
I don't, not yet.
I would recommend that that's not something to budget at the moment. If it comes in, and then we build it in the future.
Okay.
Eric made a mention about, we are proposing a cost sharing on the parking lot with the city. And he made the suggestion of, I didn't know this is potential, but in the avenue of cost sharing Fran's expense. And not to diminish what Fran does here, but if there's a potential to do
Well, we
some
would
cost sharing, that.
keep Fran. It would
Yeah,
just-
yeah, it just,
It'd be
the
a
city
function.
funded by the city.
So now break it down. It's right now, it's about. Well, 30, a little under 30% Old Orchard, BDC funded by the general fund, and then the remainder is Crossroads, just given size and usage and such like that. So we certainly could propose a different model there to the city. The city already covers a portion of Fran's contract under the general fund.
Okay.
But then all three other
I-
districts are kinky.
If I could jump in there, I didn't realize that we funded Fran for her services. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. I mean, the trade association, we pay her, that makes sense to me. But
But
the city want,
But we fund the trade association for her.
right.
This advisory board does, sorry, Fran. So I know the trade association does not fund her for what the trade association uses her for, is my understanding. I believe that is Fran,
1,800.
I'm sorry.
Say that again.
1,800.
We put the $1,800 in, and that's their budget for
trade.
you, right? And so that comes out of our budget.
Right, and that
Right.
doesn't fully fund.
That doesn't fully fund. Okay, so
what
they,
trade pays me.
I got you. Okay, so the city also puts in
Yeah, it's correct. So the city pays, so the trade association, we pay the trade association, they bill, Fran bills trade association, whatever may be. There's a bill that comes to the city that encompasses the three districts works NBDC.
Okay.
And that is split, that is since my time here, and I think for some period, for years, I'm gonna look at all of you, before I got here, the districts have always paid in as part of Fran's cost to do this work. So
Exactly, right.
I don't
Why-
know when
why-
it started
why
or
would-
how it started, so.
That's my question. Why would the districts be paying for this? This is a city board that needs someone to do Fran's job. So why wouldn't the city be paying? Because this is the information that the council wants. Why would the districts be paying anything for Fran on these meetings?
I actually believe that that is newer than we think it is, because when I first joined this board, we had somebody from the city actually doing what Fran does.
Actually, so it was Fran's sister before her, and before that, it was one of us taking notes, which was not very good. So, so that's kind of what happened
I
there.
don't,
Yes,
Fran does a great job.
I think it's
Yeah.
worth a professional fee.
Yeah, I think we need to go after ask for the city to pay for all of Fran's time at these meetings. And that goes across the entire, all districts. I mean, I don't understand at all why the districts would pay. I mean, because her job, we need to have her here for these, everything she does with the agendas and notes and, everything.
the other way, the other up,
To Fran's.
to Franklin. So we
yeah,
have,
Emerson, his comments on this a little bit or not? I know he's just one person.
that'd be great. Emerson, can you share your thoughts from the perspective of the city?
Well, I can't speak for the whole council, but I do understand the concept of the city taking care of Fran's cost. I would suggest, recommend that you make that proposal to the city during your budget request. Because not only you, I mean, the other commissions will be part of that as well. So something different, something new. I think it's worth submitting and see what council has to say.
Tim, how about we propose that the city cover all but special event admin support?
All right, I will make that proposal that the city covers all admin. I didn't hear exactly how you phrase that.
But the special events, leaving that our cost. Admin,
Special events.
that's
admin.
900, that would be like $5,100 of our budget would be the city's responsibility, 900 would be ours.
Trade association would come out of the city's general fund,
Which is trade association,
the second line.
OWTA.
So what the district covers in
yeah.
terms of what Fran's doing here is just this 3,300. So the 1,800 is what you pay the trade association, which then Fran bills against her others. That's a subsidy to the trade association.
Yep. What, Tim, what are your thoughts on that, since we're funneling the trade association fees through here? Should that also be a city cost?
No, I'm fine with us paying what we're paying on
So just a 33.
for Fran, because I don't see that as a city cost. I see this meeting as a city cost. I don't see the trade association because we're doing, so I don't, it's subsidized and the city's paying some is fantastic. But I'm fine with us continuing to pay what we need to pay.
So just 3,300.
Correct, yeah. So that would be our recommendation. Thank you, Tim.
Yes.
The trade association admin support. Is there additional, are we just subsidizing Fran's payment?
And so they bill us
Part of it.
part of it.
Like, so you're billing. Okay.
So essentially
So
the,
that
Just wondering
check
if we
that I
move it
asked you
down.
for is paying for the other part.
Okay.
In
know, if
addition
we-
to everything
If
else
as a
that they
trade
do.
association, we raise the dues and then take that off, that line off as well. Not sure, we can look at that.
What's that?
We have the trade association raise the membership fees to take that off of our line item as well.
Raise an additional 1,800.
I don't know what that looks like for the trade association, just an idea.
How many members from trade?
Historically, it averages about 60.
It's probably a Stacy and Tim question.
$30 a
Yep.
piece, is that right?
Well, they're members too,
Okay.
Yeah.
but you would need to come to a trade meeting and propose it. It can't be done through this organization.
Right, and we just
encourage
raised,
you to come.
yeah, we just raised it a year or two ago, so.
And
It
we
had,
pay
it
extra
had
for all
been
the-
raised for over a decade before that.
And we do pay extra to participate in all the events, so.
Yeah, each event, it's $150 for holiday open house. It's $175, $125 for girls' night out. It's I mean, we are charging a decent amount of money to put on the events that we do. So I mean, I don't think. I mean, you can come talk to us. You know, obviously, but I don't think us raising ours. I don't think this is a place to be going after money from the association.
Okay, fair enough. Any other expense categories we should discuss? I feel there's a lot of opportunity.
I don't think there's other areas. I mean, the big numbers, operating transfers out, and then we're talking about beautification,
Right, which would be
flowers.
challenging.
How much extra were those recycling trash cans that are in the district right now?
It didn't cost the district anything. That was a grant from the county.
Yeah,
Okay, but are we paying a service fee on that?
Nope,
nothing.
Okay,
you don't pay for any trash pickup other than the recycling bin behind Dan's building, so.
got it.
So right now, Eric, if you can run to the bottom here. Without any adjustment to the revenue side, we're at about a $12,000 shortfall.
If the city approves.
If the city approves
Yeah.
some cost sharing, some aggressive cost sharing, which will be more cost. Unless there's any other comments, I suggest we move forward.
I agree.
And
I had a question. If,
Yes.
I know we've talked about the employee parking, the overflow lots. What if those just became city overflow lots, not necessarily designated for employees, knowing our employees would park where they can park? And that came out of the city's budget, not ours.
100% on bars.
You could certainly suggest it. It would be a relatively new feature to the city. None of the other districts have a leased lot for the city. Every district has owned city lots, so you have the parking garage and sort of the area along Glencoe, the permitted area, the orange permits area. Crossroads has Alma and behind Jeff Sanders' building, and Old Orchard has Log Cabin, and then the one on the north side of Big Bend, and Dale lot. You by far have the most parking numbers, so you certainly could propose it. It would just be a new feature for the city to say we are going to own those leases wholly without the taxing district paying into them.
Because it's used by customers, it's not solely occupied by employees.
Yep. Short of a good way for Officer Razul to know who's an employee, there's no real way to police that, so.
No.
Can I ask you real quick, is Jazz Fest an Old Webster event?
This
It's-
business district, yes.
It's.
Okay, all I'm saying is, shut up, it attracts 10,000, 12,000 people in one day. If you charge $5 a head, I'm serious, man. I don't think it would hurt attendance at all. It is a prized event for 20 years, and I think people would blow it over and you would earn $50,000 in a day. I'm serious. That's your biggest single event of the year, and I don't think it would dampen attendance at all. Because people love it. So it's just food for thought.
On that, You asked for donations before, right? That big donation bucket thing,
Several hundred.
and that's all we get. I would assume, anytime people. Yeah, it's not.
I love the idea on a revenue generating option, but I'm also a huge fan of free events. in the community.
And
That's-
logistics of
so
trying
much
to,
like-
I mean, you could come in any.
It's good.
You really have to,
Right,
you really
it's
have to do some serious fencing to trap it in, which
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it'd be good for the police department.
it can be done. We can secure the perimeter and put up spectrometers and get you all checked in.
Does the
So.
city, does the police department have barbed wire?
Is there not, is there not a way to invite more outside vendors in to be able to charge more vendors?
Well, there is an opportunity, but generally. We balance it between, do we want to look like we're a commercial event or do we want to look like we're organic? And music and festival is so we balance it because we have one window vendor right now that wants to come in. Other than that, it's the food vendors and local organizations that you set up booths for their information. Our feeling is that we don't want to turn it into a commercialized event where they're selling insurance, they're selling all these different things, line after line after line of vendors. So as long as we can fund it, I mean, if we get to that point, but right now the state's,
I think we do that,
Arts
you lose the
commissions-
appeal.
pardon me?
It loses the appeal when you have.
Yeah, I like the organic feel of it,
Right.
and the more commercialized we make it, the less that.
And kudos to the group that have run it for so many years that it's essentially break even, so.
We've actually found people who will help support it without that.
Um, so are there any other thoughts besides Karen on proposing that the city take over the parking lots in their entirety? And certainly there's a risk that they don't retain them, I don't know.
Well, we're in leases, at least with one, so I mean, there's a lease there that we'd have to honor. We could theoretically break it, but it would take some time.
Or even when they renew.
Correct, yeah, the Moody lease is quite some long time now, so I mean, that's.
It certainly predate me, so I'll defer to them.
So I think our $12,000 deficit, if somehow we're able to find that $15,000 that we're missing.
We're to true up the record. We never find it, yeah.
And somehow, I think that, that that would be a break even, which would be great. Of course, we can't guarantee it. We do have the fund balance. No different than Dave. I never want to see negative. Ever. It's not healthy and it's not sustaining, and this will be the second year in a row we've done it. But I think we should amend the budget as we have it set now.
And leave the parking as this.
Well,
50%.
And I know that we have talked about this, but are we thinking that this is coming from a business not paying properly, or?
It would be more than one business. It would be lots of businesses. Which is surprising to me. I mean, it's like I said in the last meeting, it's almost like everyone in the city just doesn't get license plates anymore. It's just like, they just know that nobody's gonna do anything, and it's like, well, it's not paying. And so I that's how I kind of see it. I can't believe that happens in Webster.
I think historically, it's been around 40,000, right, Eric?
I'll just pull it up, I don't want to misspeak, but go ahead, yes.
It just seems quite obvious that something is not right. And that with a review of the top 30 licensed payers, you might find it based on what they paid in the previous year. It might stand out. It might be a mistake. Is it true? I mean, business licenses that we're looking at actually haven't been paid yet, right? So these are ones that are coming in April.
So the April is 24. So right here, you've only got $45 so far, this cycle for new people paying in, so,
Yeah.
because the bills haven't gone up. But where you're talking about the fall off is here in 23, you had 39, 37, so around that 40 mark, right? And then you spiked in 22 because we did a whole bunch of auditing, and gone back and collected on. But for some reason, in 23, you plumbed it back down to 24. And that number is what I can't reconcile because there's nothing internal that says we didn't put the money in the right spot or such. It's something external, meaning people haven't submitted, people haven't submitted a business license because I can't check against something I don't have. So essentially now what we're doing is going through the list of businesses. Have we received the license in 23? Do we expect, what should we expect the amount we believe, we think that they could be paying? If we know their gross receipts, if they're not a gross receipts eligible, if they're professional services, have we gotten their $35? That's what my staff is doing as we go through every day, take our time and what's on the list, do our processes and then grab this list and keep going down the list to see
I'm
what
sure this
potentials
is
we have.
part of the process, but right.
Well, I wonder what happened, I mean, how much of a loss it is when you lose a restaurant.
Went down.
Layla,
It's not on that 23 list.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Stacy.
I said, I wonder how much you lose just losing a restaurant, because we know we lost Layla, they're gone, right? So we're missing that.
There
I'm
are,
going through the list of everybody who was possibly not functioning.
and I can't say names, but there are some delinquents from 23 that didn't get into 24. That of course we reach out to, so they're there as well, so. But just give you the 5-year trend quickly going back, I'll just dip back 5 years so you can all see the trend. So, looking back, 35, really, you've had some spike years, but essentially 35 to 40 has been your comfortable range of where things have been.
Any other comments on the budget? I think we have a motion on the floor from Ron. And the motion is can you restate the motion?
So the motion is to approve the budget as it's been amended, and asking also for the city to help pick up part of Fran's costs on our end of the meeting, which is $3,000. 33, excuse me.
I will second.
Okay, second. Any other discussions, comments on that? All approved? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. We'll run with that. Appreciate it.
8 minutes.
8 minutes. We're gonna tackle 8 different things in 8 minutes. We should-
So I will roll through it. I have no rooftop lighting update. Tim asked me about decorative parking signs, so
Okay. Tim, comments on decorative parking signs, and I think as far as the dollars go, if we have a dollar need, we'll pull that out of capital funds.
Right. I reached out to Laura. I did not hear back from her. I got the number of 34 signs. Just on my own research, really to replace them, it looks like that would be the option to do. We'd probably be looking at about $100 a sign. So we're probably looking at about $3,500 to replace all of them.
you're printing both sides and then we just stick them on the metal that's there, right?
Well, think
No,
it's-
I think it's-
new
I think-
signs too.
Yeah, I think
New
new
signs.
sign-
Metal signs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that jive with city?
No, that's fine.
But they do need to probably fit in that old frame or something.
Right, yeah,
you
so
know?
so that's, I'm sorry, we have left it from the city that you probably were printing new vinyls on the metal that was there, so that's fine, I just need to connect with Frank on. Where do we get those metal signs that are in there and such, so.
Is there a problem with the metal signs?
Tim, is there a reason
I'm
why have you chosen not to use the old signs? The old metal?
Just on my research, I've not had a conversation with Laura on this yet. But some of those signs are actually damaged as well too. So just on my quick research, just getting a ballpark idea. That is what I found.
Hopefully it'll be
I'll
less.
get pricing on the sign inserts from Frank, so it may be easy for us to cut them,
That's what I would be, yeah.
the metal.
Yeah, because somehow.
I'm assuming that's a basic round, so we should be able to stamp it out at the sign shop and everything like that, so.
So what more do we need to make this happen? Is it really on you?
We just gotta
guys?
keep moving forward.
I will get the sign insert cost and then you can all decide if you.
And somebody's gonna design them. Tim, are you gonna design the new signs?
We can. Laura, I know Frank, can you help me with that? Is she into
Yeah.
design for that? I mean,
She's ready.
Well, then we
You're
should,
gonna need-
we could look at some options on that. That should help move it along.
I'll have her reach out to you. Tim.
okay. Yeah, I emailed her last Friday, I believe it was Thursday or Friday.
She said it was like you wanted to meet with her on Thursday. I'll get you guys connected again.
Okay, great.
Thank you for that, Tim. Look forward to the next meeting or so, we can actually start getting these in place. So, last month, we talked about the pedestrian signs.
I went to Jean at Kind Soap and she's agreed to do the designs. I think there's 5 spots, maybe 6, that we can promote the recurring events that we have here in a non-date form, maybe the 3rd Saturday in June example versus an actual date. And then Tim has agreed to print the material that'll be stuck on the sign. So hopefully, maybe by next meeting, we'll have something.
Fantastic.
Can I just ask that Jean and Laura kind of have a similar look as, so we just stay cohesive across the district?
I think I think that should be in their scope.
It could,
Should be in their scope to keep the design and the graphics package
Yeah.
the same as existing.
You mean
Okay.
what Jean's doing now?
What Gene's
in her
doing and
look
what
now.
Laura's doing for the new signs.
Yeah.
Is to continue with the
'Cause Gene-
language that we've expressed for signage and with the
Jean's
fonts.
got a certain look that's, kind of unique now to the old Webster, all the promotional material she has, I think, a really cool look. And you're saying that Laura would use some of that?
We use the existing language that's set up for the district.
just make sure they're the same. That's all I'm asking.
Great point.
Why is there balloons coming up on me? Sorry. Did you see that?
I
Yeah, I
saw
just saw that.
That was wild.
Yeah, balloons.
Woohoo!
Is it your birthday?
Party up in here.
Somebody shaking
No,
balloons.
it's a party at the Pays all the time. Sorry.
Alright, very good. So good to hear that. Moving along. New business. DCM of community
Briefly, yeah,
value.
so there is a transition coming. The DCM of Community Vitality position has been added by the city. That position will oversee public works and planning and development, the management office. It will also take on the business districts and the BDC. So there will be a transition coming. When that person's hired, there'll be about a 6-month process of us coexisting in this meeting, and that person will be me. So you will be thrilled to know you won't have to deal with my, particular frank cantankerousness in the future, so you'll have a new person. So we'll make sure to introduce you all, and as I said, we'll be about 6-month transition, make sure they're up to speed.
Thank you. BDC update,
Stacy or Tim?
Tim? Stacey?
We have not met. We meet on Thursday. We I'm trying to think.
Working on our budget.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really have a budget, but
They established 2 subcommittees.
yeah, we're what we ask for the city is really what the budget is. Yeah, there's really not much of an update at this time. We talked about the coffee at our last meeting. That went fairly well. And I think that's all I got on that.
Subcommittee for exploring CID citywide.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Just to caveat, citywide or potentially what geographic space, so doesn't have to be citywide, but.
Yeah, they're into basically research phase.
Okay.
And then we're also doing research on the STL local campaign, a shop local campaign from the BDC.
Very
And
good.
QR codes.
All right. City update. Emerson, 60 seconds. You're on the
60
clock.
seconds, I can do that. Just one announcement that the municipal elections are coming in April the 2nd. Please go on the website and we'll review what's going to be on the ballot to make sure you understand when you walk in that little curtain or whatever it is. So, but that's about it. And information on the Prop W and the amendments for the charter.
Officer Azul, anything?
Uh,
Parking garage, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I knew someone was got a parking garage. So that's a question.
but it's nothing, go ahead, you're good.
So have you all gotten the parking garage updates? Did you get the one last night?
I did not, I just saw it.
Closing the deck this morning.
For the top.
For the top, yeah. So they've closed the top this morning. So Ron, I'm gonna add you to the list. So we'll update the lists. This is the subscription notice, but happy to answer questions about the parking deck. The fundamental, there was, as we dug into it, it was meant to be waterproofing on the parking deck and ceiling. As they dug into concrete, there's a whole girder that needs to be replaced. So there's a failing girder on the upper deck that needs replacement. So what can I answer?
I don't know about the, yep, I don't know about the update from last night, but before it did not give a timeline. It just said the 25th. Do we have, or, yeah, this is the start date. What is the timeline?
I talked to him yesterday, and they said 2 months.
It's a 2-month update. So it should have said 2 months in the first one. I'm sorry if it didn't, but it's a 2-month project. So trying to finish before the beginning of June.
One month for one side, 1 month for the other side. Is that what we're looking at?
Probably longer for one side because you're replacing major concrete structural pieces. So the inner part
Okay.
closest to the Novus building will be the longest piece.
Okay.
Good. Any new news? With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. I will
Motion to adjourn.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Second.
Second.
Thank you very much.